I'm Eleanor Peterson, 42, and I have dedicated a long time refining relative get-togethers. The previous summer, I devoted my soul into my siblings' birthday celebration with 30 attendees at our suburban Minneapolis residence. I organized each element: roasted poultry for the multitude, a gluten-free salad for my cousin, a sugar-free dessert for my uncle. I was awake at 5 a.m. slicing, preparing, adorning, ensuring all was perfect. My spouse and boy assisted set the dining table, and by dusk, the home was vibrant with mirth and clinking cups. Everybody commended the cuisine, or at minimum, that is what I believed. As I cleared the dishes, my mother and father stood up, their expressions severe. Incidentally, my mother stated, "We conducted a poll. From now on, you are prohibited from preparing food ever again. You are excessively domineering." My sister sneered, adding, "And truthfully, nobody even enjoys your meals." The space became quiet. 30 sets of gazes fixed on me, anticipating my response. My heart dropped, but I faked a grin. "Thank you for being truthful." I stated, my tone even. I turned back to the washing up, hands shaking, their remarks repeating in my mind. A month afterwards, they phoned incessantly, grumbling that the gatherings without me had become disorderly, and attendees were beginning to become annoyed. I merely answered coolly, "Inquire with the individuals who voted that day. Would you pardon them, or depart permanently? Inform me in the comments. I've constantly been the individual who maintains things unified." For my sister's birthday the previous summer, I accepted the challenge of hosting a supper for 30 individuals at our house in suburban Minneapolis. Sure, it was not simply a gathering. It was a goal to make everybody feel important. 3 weeks prior, I sat with my husband Michael at the kitchen table scribbling notes. We emailed cousins, neighbors, and companions to verify who was arriving. My cousin Deborah texted concerning her gluten-free diet, and my uncle phoned demanding a sugar-free cake. I agreed, jotting it down. I had done this previously, and I understood how to keep everybody content. A week later, I immersed myself in organizing. I spent hours investigating formulas, flipping through cookbooks and online sites. I decided on roasted chicken with rosemary, a gluten-free kale salad with lemon vinaigrette, garlic mashed potatoes, and a sugar-free chocolate cake. Every meal had to be ideal, a manifestation of the attention I put into family. I phoned Deborah to double-check her inclinations. She was delighted about the salad. My uncle complained about no boring sweets, so I tried 3 cake recipes to get it correct. I desired every morsel to feel like home, like affection on a plate. The day before, I visited the supermarket, pushing 3 carts through packed aisles. I collected 20 pounds of chicken, fresh kale, specialty flours, and herbs. Back home, I sliced vegetables, marinated meat, and combined batter until midnight. My hands were sore from scrubbing pots. Michael hauled out collapsible tables for the backyard, joking, "You are operating an eatery here." My boy Jacob dragged seats from the garage and hung fairy lights across the patio. "Appears incredible, Mom," he stated, giving me a fist bump. Their assistance kept me grounded, but I was still the engine driving this. At 5 a.m. on the gathering day, I was back in the kitchen, stirring saucepans, checking ovens, and whisking dressing. My hands cramped from piping frosting onto the cake. I hardly ate, too concentrated on timing everything. By midday, I set out tablecloths, arranged sunflower centerpieces, and tested the playlist: classic rock for the older crowd, pop for the children. I checked the chicken every 20 minutes, paranoid about overcooking. Michael gave me a quick embrace, saying, "You are amazing, Ellie." Jacob grinned, folding napkins. I smiled back, but my eyes stung from a lack of rest. I was operating on adrenaline and coffee. When visitors arrived, the backyard came alive. Neighbors praised the arrangement, stating, "Ellie, you've surpassed yourself." Cousins grabbed seconds of poultry, raving about the rosemary taste. Deborah cornered me, holding her plate. "Oh, the salad is incredible," she stated, her smile broad. My uncle cut into his cake, nodding. "Not terrible, Ellie, not terrible." Friends toasted to my sister, their cups clinking under the lights. The energy was electric: laughter, tales, music. I moved between tables, refilling beverages, swapping empty platters for fresh ones. A neighbor, Thomas, called me a mastermind for accomplishing it. I nodded, but my legs felt like lead. As the night progressed, I hit a barrier. My feet hurt, my back yelled, and I had not sat down once. Michael observed, whispering, "Take a pause." I shook my head, grabbing a pile of dirty plates. Nobody else volunteered. Not Deborah, not my uncle, not even my sister. They kept conversing, laughing, eating. The acclaim ideal fantastic rang in my ears, but it felt empty. I had been up since sunrise, pouring every bit of energy into this. Jacob caught my gaze, stacking cups quietly, but even his assistants could not shake the sensation. I was drained and profoundly. Page 3. I questioned if anybody saw the cost. I had given everything to make this evening sparkle, but the burden of their apathy settled in my chest. Did they even notice what it required? I stood in the kitchen staring at the empty plates. The birthday celebration for my sister was winding down, and the backyard buzzed with remaining visitors. I had spent weeks planning, cooking, and serving 30 individuals, but as I stacked dishes, a heavy silence settled over me. My mother and father, Richard and Margaret, lingered near the counter, their faces tense. My sister approached, holding a glass of wine, her smile sharp. Nobody had thanked me appropriately, and the burden of that struck hard. Not even my brother David had said a word to acknowledge my work. As I wiped down a platter, my mother spoke up, her voice clipped. "Ellie, you must cease behaving like you manage everything." I froze, sponge in hand. My father nodded, folding his arms. "You are excessively domineering with these suppers. We have decided you are finished preparing food for family." My sister smirked, stepping closer. "Yeah, and let us be truthful. Your food's so tasteless, nobody likes it." Her word cut through me. The kitchen became quiet, a few visitors glancing over from the doorway. Deborah. My cousin fidgeted with her napkin, avoiding my gaze. David, usually fast to lighten the atmosphere, stared at the floor, his hands in his pockets. Jacob, my boy, stiffened beside me. His jaw tightened. Michael, my husband, started to talk, but I shot him a look, urging him to stay quiet. I would not give them the pleasure of seeing me stumble. I forced a nod, gripping the sponge tighter. Noted, I stated, my tone even. I turned back to the washing up, my heart racing. The visitors shuffled out, murmuring farewells, but their earlier praise. Deborah's incredible salad, the neighbor's genius remark, felt hollow now. David lingered, adjusting his jacket, but said nothing. I wanted him to speak up, to call out the injustice, but he did not. Jacob whispered, "They're out of line, Mom." Michael squeezed my shoulder, his eyes intense, but I shook my head. I needed to process this alone. As the last visitors left, I carried a stack of plates to the living room to clear the coffee table. That is when I overheard my sister on her phone, her voice low, but smug. Page 4. Just closed a deal, $10,000, she stated, pacing near the sofa. Mother and father's 40th anniversary is going to be enormous. I am reserving an upscale restaurant downtown. No more of Ellie's dull suppers dragging us down. My breath caught. She was not just criticizing me, she was planning to take over, to erase my part entirely. $10,000, a high-end location, all to outshine me, to prove she could do better. I stood behind the doorway, clutching the plates, my pulse racing. Her remarks burned, each one a poke at everything I had built for this family. The pain went deeper than I could identify. I had spent years orchestrating birthdays, holidays, reunions, making memories they all treasured. I believed they saw me as the core of those moments, but I was incorrect. They saw me as a servant, someone to push aside when it suited them. David's silence stung most. He had always been my partner in crime, the one who would joke about my excessive menace but cheer me on. Now he let them tear me down without a word. Deborah's compliments, the visitors' toasts, all of it felt like a falsehood. Jacob and Michael were my only anchors, their quiet support keeping me from unraveling. I finished cleaning past midnight, the house dark except for the kitchen light. Michael offered to help, but I waved him off, needing the rhythm of scrubbing to dull the ache. Jacob stayed close, stacking cups, his eyes concerned. "You do not deserve this," he stated gently. I managed a small smile, but inside I was reeling. My phone lit up with texts, mother inquiring about a recipe, father commenting on the climate, my sister sending a casual great gathering note. As if they had not just humiliated me. I stared at the messages, my fingers hovering. I wanted to retaliate, to demand why they believed I deserved this, but I did not. Instead, I muted the family group chat. No more replies to mother's requests, father's news, or my sister's fake pleasantries. David texted the next day stating, "We need to talk," but I let it sit unanswered. I was finished being their doormat. I turned my focus to my own existence work. Jacob's soccer practices, quiet nights with Michael. The group chat went quiet without my answers, and for the first time I felt a flicker of liberation. They could plan their upscale anniversary without me. I was out. A month later, my mother and father called unexpectedly. I was folding laundry in the living room. Jacob sprawled on the sofa with his schoolwork when my phone lit up with Richard's name. I hesitated, my thumb hovering. I had not spoken to them since my sister's birthday, when they had called me domineering and stated my food was tasteless, but curiosity won. I answered, putting the phone on speaker. Margaret's voice came first, overly cheerful. "Ellie, we require your assistance with something special." My stomach tightened. I understood that tone. It meant they desired something big. Richard jumped in, explaining their 40th anniversary was approaching. "We desire a family supper like the ones you do," he stated. Shamed. "You understand, warm, comfortable, everybody together." I almost laughed. Warm and comfortable. After they had humiliated me in front of 30 individuals, I leaned against the counter, folding a towel, waiting for the catch. Margaret's voice softened. "Samantha was supposed to manage it, but she's in a difficult situation." They admitted my sister had fallen for a scam, an online investment deal gone wrong. She had lost everything, $10,000, and was now $5,000 in debt. She refused to assist with their anniversary, claiming she was too stressed to plan anything. I gripped the towel, my knuckles white. Samantha, who had bragged about her large money and upscale restaurant plans, was bankrupt. The same Samantha who had mocked my cooking and sworn to outdo me. I should have felt sorry for her, but I did not. "So why me?" I asked, my voice flat. Richard cleared his throat. "Your suppers bring the family together. Nobody does it like you." The irony struck hard. They had spent years taking me for granted, and now they required my magic to save face. I cut them off. "You stated I was too domineering." "Samantha stated my food was tasteless. Why not ask her to cater your upscale restaurant party?" Silence hung on the line. Margaret stammered. "We did not mean it like that, Ellie." But I was not buying it. Jacob looked up from his schoolwork, his eyes sharp, nodding like he approved. Michael, washing dishes nearby, gave me a small grin. I took a breath and stated, "I am finished being your event planner. Find somebody else." Richard tried to protest, stating it was just one supper, but I hung up, my hands trembling. For the first time, saying no felt correct. That weekend, I decided to reclaim my energy. Instead of stressing over family drama, I planned a small get-together at our house, just Michael, Jacob, and a few close companions. No cousins, no neighbors, no expectations. I invited Hannah and Thomas, our neighbors from down the street, and Laura, my co-worker, who had constantly been there for me. Michael grilled burgers in the backyard, while Jacob set up a playlist, mostly his preferred indie bands. I made a simple spread: grilled vegetables, a fruit salad, and brownies from a mix. No gluten-free specials, no sugar-free cakes, just food we enjoyed. We sat around a collapsible table under the patio lights, laughing over stories. Hannah teased Michael about his grilling abilities, and Thomas shared a terrible dad joke that had Jacob groaning. Laura raised her glass, stating, "To Ellie, who merits a night like this." I smiled, warmth spreading through me. This was not the chaotic high-stakes supper I'd slaved over for my sister. It was easy, genuine, and full of individuals who valued me. Jacob leaned over, whispering, "This is much better than their parties." So, "Mom," Michael squeezed my hand under the table, his eyes saying everything. As we cleared the dishes, my phone buzzed again. Margaret's name flashed, followed by a text. "Please, Ellie, we need you." I ignored it, stacking dishes with Laura. Richard called twice more that week, leaving voicemails about how they could not pull off the anniversary without me. I did not respond. Their remarks, domineering, tasteless, still stung, and I was not going to let them pull me back. Samantha's downfall was their problem, not mine. I concentrated on my small circle, on the individuals who saw my worth. For once, I felt light, like I had shed a burden I had carried too long. By the next month, their plans collapsed. My mother and father had tried to organize their 40th anniversary supper themselves after I refused to assist. Samantha, still reeling from her financial scam, offered no support, leaving them to scramble alone. I heard about the catastrophe from my niece Chloe, who called me the day after. Their house in suburban Minneapolis was a disaster. Tables cluttered with half-eaten trays, dishes piled in the sink, and decorations sagging from hasty setup. They had ordered catering, but the delivery was late and there was not enough food. Visitors expecting the warm gatherings I used to host left early, mumbling excuses. Richard tried to lighten the atmosphere with a speech, but it fell flat. Margaret, usually poised, snapped at a cousin for spilling wine. The night was a far cry from the comfortable family supper they had begged me for. I was not there to witness it, and I did not care to. I had cut contact after their calls, still stung by their accusations of being domineering and their dismissal of my cooking. But the fallout reached me anyway. 2 days later, I was scrolling through my phone during lunch when I saw Margaret's post on a family group page online. "Some individuals are too selfish to appear for family," she wrote, tagging me. "Eleanor would rather desert us than assist celebrate our milestone." My chest tightened. Selfish. After years of planning their events, cooking their meals, cleaning their messes, I stared at the screen, my coffee growing cold. The post had likes from Samantha and a few distant relatives, each one a poke. Then I saw a comment from Chloe, my niece. "Aunt Ellie does not owe anybody anything," she wrote. "She worked hard for years and you never appreciated her. Maybe look in the mirror." My eyes widened. Chloe, barely 20, had always been quiet at family get-togethers, but her words were fierce. Other comments followed, some cousins agreeing, others staying neutral, but Margaret did not respond. I could imagine her fuming, scrolling through the thread. Samantha stayed silent, probably too embarrassed by her own financial ruin to chime in. I wanted to thank Chloe, but I held back. Engaging would only stir the pot, and I was done with their drama. I put my phone down and focused on my own existence. That week I was busy with work, helping Jacob with a school assignment and planning a hiking trip with Michael. We had been spending more time with our close circle, Hannah, Thomas, and Laura, from the small get-together I had hosted. They did not expect me to play the perfect host or beg for their approval. With them, I could just be me. One evening, Laura invited us over for pizza and we laughed over a board game until midnight. Jacob teased me about my terrible dice rolls, and Michael winked, stating, "You are still the best at throwing parties." Their warmth reminded me what real connection felt like. Meanwhile, my mother and father kept texting. Richard sent a vague message about fixing things and Margaret left a voicemail, her tone sharp. "You saw my post, I assume." "We are disappointed, Ellie." I did not reply. Their failed gathering was not my fault, and their public attack only proved I had made the right choice. Chloe's defense stuck with me, though. I sent her a quick text, not about the post, just checking in about her college classes. She replied with a heart emoji and a note. "You are my favorite aunt." I smiled, tucking my phone away. That was sufficient. My days felt lighter without the family's demands. I started a new routine: morning walks with Michael, volunteering at Jacob's school, catching up with Laura over coffee. The group chat stayed quiet and I did not miss it. Margaret's post lingered in my mind, but I did not check for updates. Let them stew in their mess. I was building something better, surrounded by individuals who saw my worth. Their anniversary failure was their own doing, and I was not going to clean it up. A few weeks later, I got an email from Samantha. I was at my desk sorting through work files when her name popped up in my inbox. I had not heard from her since the fallout of her failed financial scheme, and I had kept my distance from the family after their disastrous anniversary party. My finger hovered over the delete button, but I clicked open instead. Her message was short but heavy. "Ellie, I owe you an apology. I was envious. Everybody always praised your consideration, your suppers, your care. I wanted to outshine you and I was incorrect." My jaw tightened. Samantha admitting fault. It felt surreal, but her words did not erase the sting of her past insults. I leaned back, staring at the screen. Her envy was not news. I had felt it for years, but seeing it spelled out hit differently. I did not reply. I was not ready to forgive. Not after she had called my food tasteless and tried to take over with her grand plans. Instead, I closed my laptop and turned my focus to something that mattered. I had been planning a charity event at the Minneapolis Community Center, a gathering for underprivileged children. It was not about impressing anybody, just giving back. I had spent weeks coordinating with volunteers, ordering supplies, and designing games to make the children smile. The day of the event arrived and the community center buzzed with energy. I set up tables with bright tablecloths loaded with cupcakes, fruit skewers, and sandwiches. Jacob helped blow up balloons, his grin wide as he tied them to seats. Yeah. Michael hauled in a speaker system, joking, "You are outdoing yourself again, Ellie." My niece Chloe showed up early carrying a box of donated books. She had reached out after defending me online, eager to assist. "Aw, this is incredible, Aunt Ellie," she stated, stacking books for the children. Her enthusiasm warmed me. At 20, she was finding her voice, and I was glad to have her by my side. The children arrived, their laughter filling the room. We played musical chairs, painted faces, and handed out goodie bags. Chloe jumped in, leading a group in a scavenger hunt, her energy infectious. One little girl hugged me, stating, "This is the best party ever." I smiled, my heart full. This was why I did it, not for praise but for moments like these. During a break, Chloe pulled me aside. "You are the only grown-up I trust." Page 9, she stated, her tone even. "The remainder of the family, they do not get it." I squeezed her shoulder, too moved to speak. Her words meant more than Samantha's apology ever could. After the event, I cleaned up with Jacob and Michael, stacking seats and sweeping glitter off the floor. My phone buzzed, a text from Hannah, my neighbor, who volunteered too. "So, you made those children day," she wrote. I smiled, tucking my phone away. Back home, I checked my email again. Unquote. Samantha's message still sat there unanswered. Part of me wondered if she meant it, but I was not ready to dive back into family drama. I had built something better, connections with individuals like Chloe, Hannah, and my small crew who valued me for me. My days stayed full. I helped Jacob with college applications, went on evening walks with Michael, and met Laura for coffee to plan a book club. Chloe started texting me regularly, sharing updates about her classes and asking for guidance. I loved her spark, her willingness to stand up for what was right. The family group chat remained silent, and I did not miss it. Richard and Margaret had not reached out since their failed gathering, and I did not expect them to. Samantha's email was a crack in the wall, but it was not enough to pull me back. I was done carrying their weight. My existence, my real existence, was here with the individuals who saw me clearly. Dawn. By the next holiday, my family was unraveling. It was Thanksgiving, and I was setting the table for a quiet supper with Michael, Jacob, and Chloe when my phone rang. Margaret's name flashed on the screen. I let the call go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. Margaret's voice was strained, almost desperate. "Ellie, we're in difficulty. Please call us back." I set the phone down, my gut telling me this was not just about holiday plans. Later that evening, Richard called again. I answered, bracing myself. He admitted they were drowning in debt, $20,000 piled up from medical bills and bad investments. They had been arguing incessantly, unable to pay it off. "We require your assistance," he said, his voice low. "Not just money, but to bring the family back together." "You are the only one who can," Margaret chimed in, pleading. "We miss your suppers, Ellie." They kept us grounded. I clenched my jaw, their remarks stirring up old injuries. They had not cared about my suppers when they called me domineering or let Samantha mock my cooking. I took a breath, my tone even, inquired with the individuals who voted that day. I stated, referring to their decision to push me out of family get-togethers. "I'm not your solution for this." Margaret gasped, and Richard started to argue, stating, "We are family, Ellie." That was an error, but I was not swayed. I hung up my hands, trembling. Jacob looked up from the table, his eyes wide. "You all right, Mom?" he asked. I nodded, forcing a grin. Michael squeezed my hand, his quiet support sufficient to keep me steady. The next morning, I got a text from David. He had not reached out since the birthday party where he stayed silent while our mother and father and Samantha tore into me. "I am sorry I did not stand up for you." He wrote, "I was wrong. Can we talk?" I stared at the message, my chest tight. David's silence had hurt as much as the other's words. I had counted on him, my brother, who always had my back, to say something, but he had not. I typed a reply, then deleted it. 1. I was not ready to forgive, not when the betrayal still stung. I left his message unanswered, just like I had with Samantha's email. Instead, I threw myself into my community work. I had been organizing events at the Minneapolis Community Center, building on the success of the children gathering. This time, I was planning a winter clothing drive for local families. Chloe showed up to help sorting coats and scarves with me. "You are doing something real here," she stated, stacking boxes. Her belief in me felt like a lifeline. We worked side by side, joking about her college dorm life while folding blankets. Hannah and Laura pitched in too, dropping off donations and cracking jokes to keep the mood light. The drive was a success. Dozens of families got what they required, and the center was filled with grateful faces. One woman hugged me, stating, "You are a blessing to this community." I smiled, her words warming me more than any family praise ever had. Back home, Michael and Jacob helped me unpack leftover supplies, and we celebrated with takeout pizza. Chloe joined us, laughing as Jacob tried to steal her slice. "You guys are my real family," she stated, her eyes bright. I felt a pang of pride. She had chosen me, not the chaos of Richard, Margaret, or Samantha. My phone kept buzzing with messages from my mother and father. Richard sent a long text about their financial strain, begging me to reconsider. Margaret left another voicemail, her tone sharp. "You are tearing us apart, Ellie." I did not respond. Their problems were not mine to solve. I focused on my existence, planning the next community event, helping Jacob with his college essays, and enjoying quiet nights with Michael. After everything that occurred, I realized I no longer needed to seek their approval. The Minneapolis Community Center was alive with laughter as I hosted a birthday party for underprivileged children. Michael grilled hot dogs. Jacob led a pinata game, and Chloe handed out colorful cupcakes. The children's smiles lit up the room, their joy pure and unfiltered. This was my purpose now, creating moments that mattered, surrounded by individuals who valued me. My old family, Richard, Margaret, and Samantha, faded into the background, their absence a relief. I had heard through Chloe that they were paying a price. Samantha's so-called companions had ditched her after her financial failure, leaving her isolated. Richard and Margaret faced whispers from neighbors who called them ungrateful for pushing me away. Their social circles shrank, their reputation bruised by their own actions. I did not gloat, but I felt no guilt either. They had made their choices just as I had made mine. After the gathering, I sat with Jacob and Chloe cleaning up streamers. I looked at them, my heart full. "Do not let anybody dim your worth," I stated, my voice firm. "Not family, not anybody." Jacob nodded, his eyes serious. Chloe hugged me, whispering, "You have shown me that, Aunt Ellie." Michael joined us, wrapping an arm around me, his pride clear. Hannah and Laura stopped by, praising the event, their warmth a stark contrast to my mother and father coldness. I had cut off all contact with Richard, Margaret, and Samantha. No more calls, no more texts. My phone was quiet, and I liked it that way. My existence was full: community projects, suppers with companions, and moments with Michael, Jacob, and Chloe. I had found a family that did not demand my work or question my value. For the first time, I was truly happy, rooted in a community that saw me for who I was. If you liked the story, please don't forget to like and subscribe.